Hey, what's going on? It's your boy Coach, and this is the Endless series. Welcome. So let's go ahead and get straight to business. So this is a acronym I kind of came up with for this overall arching program that I kind of developed just to maybe be a more general approach, something that isn't really specific or narrowed or has any ESA limitations, because you can make it whatever you want to make it. Really getting started, I think, kind of starts with nutrition, but we can kind of build other things and habit shifts as we go along. So really, endless, I think, is an interesting kind of name because there's endless potential or possibilities. It's whatever you want it to be for you. So here's some of the benefits and some of the things we're trying to achieve. We're changing the way we think about things and changing the way we do things. You can read those bullet points, but that's kind of really what the overall way we get started. These are some of the protocols we use to kind of move you towards your goals. We kind of use nutrition as a starting point, and I think that's the best place to start because it's one thing we can say have an advantage in this day and age. There's a number of things we do and use, and that we'll go through in the many upcoming weeks. Our preferences, lifestyle, and what works for us, because the last thing we want to do is make like restrictions or things that you're not comfortable doing or things you don't like doing, and we're going to go through all of that. But yeah, this really overall in the end, you're going to start kind of creating your own system. You're going to become like a technician, let's say, and diagnose the things that you need and the things that you don't need in order to get you to where you want to go, and weed out the things or start changing the things that are keeping you from going in the direction that you're trying to go. So this is kind of the basic starting point for this system. It's with meal prep, and I have it into 3 separate elements, and it's the shopping, the cooking, and the preparation. And they're all different because if you combine them as one, which I've tried in the past, like, okay, I have my 4 hours to get all this done. If I didn't have time to get one part of it done, I would just say I don't have time to do it, and we want to prevent excuses. So in order to do that, what works best for me, and I think can work best for a lot of you out there, is to divide them. It's like you can do these at different days or times or squeeze them in to whenever's convenient for you. You just have to make sure it's consistent, and that's what you're really shooting for. And all of this is to be consistent. So you can see my example of how I incorporate these basic elements, and this is something that hasn't changed in over 3 years. I make sure to get these done. Now, the times are estimates for the most part. There are some weeks, depending on my schedule, I have to flex them a little bit differently, but that's okay. For the most part, what's in there is about 90% of the time is how I can make work in my lifestyle. This is kind of one of the areas that you're going to want to focus on, and for the first maybe month or two, it's going to take you to just kind of figure out what works best for you. When can you make these things fit in? Okay, so the time has come. You're ready to go shopping. These are some of the things that I find most important when you are doing your grocery shopping. Now, there's a number of things I kind of keep in mind before I go, and you can read those tips there just to see, some things that kind of help me kind of stay accountable. One of the important things in here is what's called perimeter shopping, and it's something I learned a long time ago. Is if you go on the outer edges of the grocery store, that's where you're going to find, say, your fresh produce and your fresh meats and things like that. And we'll go through that here in a little bit. There's going to be a lot of things that you can do on the inner aisles in terms of getting the spices, the special ingredients, because in my first learnings, I was told to stay out of the inner aisles. There's nothing good for you in there. It's all about fresh and whole foods, right? And that's not true. There's a lot of great things that can make your meals taste good, take them to the next level, and make sure you stay on track because you like what you're eating. Okay, so one of the hardest parts, I think, for those who are new to nutrition or haven't really shopped or done this before is going to be reading nutrition labels, because there's a lot of information on there and it's going to not make a whole lot of sense in the beginning. So the first thing you're going to look at is the calories, and you're going to not just see the calories, but how many servings are in there to give you a total amount of calories with whatever container you're getting. That's going to be really important, especially when you're trying to do easy or quick meal preps. And so when we're trying to run a deficit, that's going to be the most important number. Now, there's other things on there, say the macronutrients, the micronutrients. They also have importance, but it's not going to be our main focus for the most part until we get further into the program. Now, the ingredient list is something that if you have a sensitivity or an intolerance or an allergic reaction to some of the ingredients, you may want to pay attention to that. But for me, I've always seen the longer the list is, the more preservatives it is, especially if there's a lot of things in there that you can't pronounce. So if it's really short, that's going to be, maybe it's more wholesome form, we can say, or whole food. But the bigger that list gets, that's say more processed food. I don't believe in avoiding foods that are, say, processed. If there's foods that don't make you feel good after you eat them because they have that long list, then don't eat them. you look at the week 1 goals, there's really not a whole lot to this first week. I didn't say make any changes to what you're eating. You're just going to learn how to use that food scale, track your food to be accountable. So this week, make sure you get to the grocery store, make sure you just kind of cruise around. Even if you don't buy anything, just kind of get this process down. If you're eating out a lot, you're just going to be using that Fitness Pal, look things up, do it the best you can. Easier to start making the habits and get more towards maintenance and figuring out what those calories are before we start our deficit. I don't know of any other program that's going to start with telling you, hey, we're not going to change anything in your nutrition, keep it as is week 1. They're going to give you basically some kind of meal you need to start eating or things you need to start doing. We'll get to those things, but we're going to do it slowly, because if you're really looking for true lifestyle change and weight management and ways to really ingrain habits, it's going to take a long time. And so you got to be patient with this. So what we're doing right now, this is perimeter shopping, and pretty much all your produce, all your fresh stuff, is going to be on the outsides of the grocery. So we got about 1.25 pounds of 96, and they have this is 93. We're going to get one of these, a little more fat. So in terms of calories, it doesn't show it here, but this is generally going to be about 120 for 4 ounces. This is going to be closer to 150, 160. So a little bit more, but better flavor. So it just depends on what you're trying to do. Let me grab one of these just to have extra. Better for longer, just because it's encased a little bit. And then right here, you see that air. This is going to go, I would say, expire a little bit sooner. And you can always strain it if it looks fatter. Okay, let's see here. Oh, this is a treasure here. So these are the Velveeta slices. This is one of the hacks. 35 calories a slice. Adds a little bit of flavor. The cheese, we're going to use this. These are kind of nice if you can find them, the tenderloins. Just because they're already cut, they already have the fat stripped off, depending on what you're looking for. I tend to stay away from maybe the thighs or the darker meats. They're just a little more calories. Nothing wrong with that, but we're gonna get maybe 2 of these. We can do a fun little dish with these, I think. So. Now this is one of the areas you need to be careful of. I know this stuff looks really tasty, looks really good. Hey, you see all these wonderful colors and nice and sugary, but it's not about the sugar or anything like that. But this stuff is not gonna fill you up. You can eat a lot of this stuff generally. It's kind of designed that way, highly palatable. And so these are what I call snacks, and we don't generally do this stuff. At the same time, if you can find them in moderation, do them in moderation. There's nothing wrong with that, but for me, I struggle with that. So I make sure the first step to not buying this stuff is to eat before you come to the grocery. Really, you can just go to a canned source. There's nothing wrong with that. It adds a little bit of micronutrients in your meals, gives you a little more volume. It's something I do. Here, as we kick off this new series, I thought I'd do something kind of interesting, and that's get the perspective of others and just kind of get some input, on how they stay successful, how other people, kind of view nutrition, view health, view, what works. Really, kind of the goal is just to see that there is no one way, and how important it is to, find something that you relate with and something that works for you. Really, in the end, it's all about finding some habits and patterns and things that you enjoy and things that you find beneficial to stay successful and to keep you motivated and going, right? So it all depends. So I'm here getting a massage with Catherine. She's one of the most talented people when it comes to healing the body, especially when it comes to deep tissue work. She has a God-given talent with not just knowing about the body, but how to treat the body.
Hi.
Okay, and so Catherine, how long have you been doing this?
Been doing massage bodywork for about 8 years now. A big reason that people come is for pain reduction, and massage can just complement anything that you're doing. Exercise routine, working with your chronic posture that you might be stuck in for work. If you're in chronic pain, it's really great to try to make it at least twice a week. If you're pretty involved in your self-care and you're doing a lot of stretching and exercise, every 2 weeks is awesome, but even coming once a month can be very, very beneficial. Trained and utilize trigger point therapy, myofascial release, deep tissue, And then I also integrate craniosacral therapy and a technique called homeopathy of the spine. I love seeing people reach their goals and healing and starting a deeper journey of self-care. 2 things that I commit to pretty much daily is yoga and meditation. And then I just try to get a little bit of cardio and strength training during the week. Be kind to yourself. Do things that are important to you, that you want to do. Don't push yourself to do some crazy program. What's the exercise you've wanted to do? What's the things you've wanted to do for yourself? And just being gentle with yourself along the way.